Okay. Welcome to Creativity-Hive's weekly program. I am Miriam Haugen, one of the founders of Creativity-Hive. We help budding videographers achieve massive editing skills through one-on-one teaching and live group coaching. And today we are talking with Mo and Neil Haugen, our two other founders here, and just have a little chat about editing. Welcome, guys.
Nice to be here.
Hi, Miriam.
So, just in case people don't know who you are, Neil is came to this through stills photography, and do you want to just give like a 1-minute summary of your history in videography, Neil?
Well, started a portrait studio just coming out of college many years ago, and it became quickly a fairly high-end studio. Miriam started out teaching music, but quickly joined me in the studio and became as good or better a portrait photographer. We won a lot of awards. We were very picky, and we kept getting dumped by the professional labs that did nothing but do the printing for professional portrait photographers because we sent too much back for being redone. So we ended up needing to have our own full color wet lab. And we ran that for 20 some years with all of the work at doing color management with it and teaching people how to do good workflows because we had to be very efficient in order to be profitable at it. And then as with the digital came in, stills photography, portraiture started going down as a business model, and there wasn't really a need for both of us anymore. So I decided to mess around with this video thing and very quickly ended up becoming entranced with the color correction capabilities of what was Adobe SpeedGrade at the time, and which has since been discontinued. But between that and Premiere Pro, and with some forays into Resolve and other things, I've worked a lot on color management, color correction, and of course graphics and some basic editing and that sort of thing. And have become a rather noted figure on it. I also teach over at mixinglight.com, which is a pro colorist teaching subscription website, and I color Premiere Pro color management and color correction for the people there.
Okay, Mo, why don't you do a little short snippet of what your background?
Okay, cool. So I like editing, and I like visual effects, and I like Adobe products, and I like all post-production and anything that moves and makes motion. And I'm Neil's protege, and learn a lot from Neil. Neil's awesome, fantastic guy. And when we do stuff together, we do it like magic. That's me. Done.
Mo is quite a teacher. He is amazing. He has every Adobe certification, I think, that's made practically, right? Adobe is certified expert. Adobe, no, maybe not. Am I exaggerating?
Slightly. His list of credentials is long.
Some certifications,
it's pretty long.
They're a little slightly long. Yeah, it's about 2 or 3 things that I have. It's nothing major.
Yeah, right.
I love motion, and I love motion design. That's why I'm here. That's all it is, really.
Mo is really good at audio. He's good at live photographing. He's handled the production on everything from commercials on up. In live work, or in filming. He's also an amazing person in After Effects with some professional credits and skills there that just blow me away. He is a great teacher, and he's an absolute wonderful person to work with. So we just get a kick out of working together.
Yeah, this is a surprise for me, Miriam, because I didn't know this episode was about me. So going, Neil. No, I'm just kidding. Neil's just exaggerating. Like I've said, it's just for the love of what we do.
That's one of the biggest things that Mo brings to it is just always to keep a focus on the reason that we're doing this is because we love doing it. Because if you don't love doing it, go find something else. And that's really one of the biggest things, and it's one of the greatest things that I've found in working with him and studying his teaching methods, because he really works at helping people take their passionate parts and use them in editing and make what may seem otherwise to be a drudgery to be something that you don't even notice the time going by because you get so involved in it because you are just so emotionally involved in what you're doing. And getting that emotional involvement in your editing and in the training that we do has been a great strength that Mo's brought to the project. And I love working with him about that.
So this is all very interesting, but we were going to talk about some new things in Premiere Pro and also address some of the problems that people are having. What do you want to talk about there?
One of the first things is a very major one that is going to be coming up for users, and that is on titles and graphics. There are some users that are still primarily using or still heavily using what's called the legacy titler, and they called that the legacy titler 3 years ago when they brought in the Essential Graphics panel and motion graphics or MOGRTs into Premiere. And that, of course, indicates that at some point it's going bye-bye. Well, they suddenly introduced a little tool that can help bring much, but not all of the items from a graphic or a title created in the legacy titler forward and make it usable in the Essential Graphics title. And having done that, I think practically we're looking at, this is probably the last major version. You know, they have like the 2021 is the 15.x builds. And I would say this is the last year I would count on Legacy Titler being around. I doubt that the Legacy Titler will be available in the next version of Premiere Pro coming out in 2022. So it is really time for anyone that's doing a lot of work in the legacy work to start changing things over, because I don't think that's going to be an option much longer. They have a few things, unfortunately, that really could be good to see changed. Among other things, they've never had a library of shapes with their new Essential Graphics panel, and that has always amazed me since they first came out with it. Why you wouldn't have a library of shapes for a graphics and title panel, I just don't understand. But say, well, you can make them by using rectangles and circles and using other ones and using them to mask and everything like that. And yeah, it's a lot of fiddliness, and you already had. Why can't we just have a library of shapes? But that, and for some people, this can be a problem because for a lot of professional work using graphics and titles, you make them for a specific project. So say you are working on a commercial for a company. The graphics you make for that commercial, you are not ever going to use on anything else, right? But the way Premiere Pro is set up with the Essential Graphics, those are stored either as part of your library or on local folders. Well, so you finish the project, you archive it, and it's easy to build up 5 billion MOGRTs. And so you want to kind of clean those out. But then 6 months later, the company comes back and says, we'd like you to update this and do a few changes. And oh, crap, you've thrown away the graphics that came with it. They need a way to store those graphics in the panel. And Mo and I have both been we're both Adobe community professionals, ACPs on the various forums, and we, like Jarla Leopold and some of the other people that are heavily involved in this, have been pushing very hard. And they're supposedly considering it, trying for how they would do it. But I sincerely hope they come up with that, because that would really help out with the workflow. But that's a biggie. If you're using the legacy titler, you've got to get away from that now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting about the legacy titler, because I've been using Premiere for a number of years, and funnily enough, Neil, I still use the legacy title panel. I find it very productive compared to the Essential Graphics, which has its own place. The Essential Graphics I use more for things like MOGRTs or any animation or any keyframes within the title. But when it comes to the legacy titler, it'll be a sad day indeed if they get rid of it. Well, it's called legacy already, so it's for years, so it's going to go away. The really great stuff about the legacy titler is the fact that it has so much of versatility and so much space that you can explore and use. So you're not bound to a panel box. You can move it's like Microsoft Word on your screen, really. You can just import stuff and just copy and paste stuff, and your fonts are pretty simple. They should, in fact, I still don't use it, the Essential Graphics, beside for animations. So I don't know, a lot of people are going to be turned away by it. I understand there's a lot of change when it comes to how people are working with titles, but yet again, it's becoming the norm to follow the norm. So everyone's doing motion graphic templates, and you get animation. So all the guys that have been doing it in After Effects for ages, they've simplified it so that you can do it in Premiere Pro. But like we know, Premiere Pro is not really capable yet, speed-wise and performance-wise, to manage it. So the legacy title was something that was so quick, it's so fast and so easy that just you get it done and it's done. That's it. And what was great about it is it doesn't store stuff. Like you said, you don't have 500,000 logos sitting in the back end and you don't understand where they are. So if you had to unarchive a project after final, maybe 2 years later, and they needed some changes, that title is still there. Yeah. It's not gone. It's not stored, but it's still part of the project, and it's a minuscule 1 kilobyte file compared to what motion graphic templates are. So it's the die-hard editors and the die-hard titling guys, from what I've heard, they're not too happy about this. They have to change over, I guess, but they probably will keep an older version of Premiere Pro alive on their machines just to be able to use. I'm going to do that. I know that for a fact.
And that's wise.
Yeah,
I still have a machine that has Speed Grade loaded on it, which was killed 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. It's awesome to have that ability to go back to technology which you felt comfortable with after it's become redundant. And redundancy for some people is great because you're absorbing change. But for people that use it very well, it's still very productive. So my piece of advice for budding, up and coming editors and artists, the titling artists, etc., would be to learn both.
Yeah.
Learn how to use the latest technology, and learn how to use the legacy products. The box blur, the Gaussian blur, those are all legacy effects as well. But I use them every day because
they work.
I love the
Gaussian.
That's max blur. It's like a vector, like a vector blur. Yeah, it's a great blur. So, it's going to be a year still before we see something drastic change-wise. Premiere's getting there. And what's scary really right now is what we spoke about the other day when it comes to the mogets and layering up effects, stuff like that. So when you start to layer up effects, which is not yet out, but it's going to get there eventually. So it's kind of taking After Effects and saying, to hell with you. I'm not sure if you've seen the latest promo for I'm sure you have the latest promo for with the Queen song behind it. And I spoke to a few guys and I made a comment and I said, this is a Premiere Pro promo, right? And they said, yes. And I said, so it was made in Premiere Pro, right? And they said, yes. And I said, so 80% is done in After Effects. How can you say it's a Premiere Pro video? These were the top guys at Adobe, and the guys were like, yeah, After Effects was used somewhat. And I'm like, well, it was not used somewhat. It was used 85%. You cannot do this kind of stuff in Premiere.
You couldn't have done that without, but it was done within Premiere Pro using the dynamic link to After Effects.
Yeah, it was edited in Premiere, and a funny comment by one of the guys was, at the end, the titles were edited by me, directed by me, and somebody put out a comment there saying, "Who's me?" And it was just really hysterical. But the guy, we understand who's me. It's pretty much anyone. And I thought it was pretty cheeky for Adobe to launch that sort of promo and say it's all done. Well, not say, but allude to the fact that it's done in Premiere Pro. And this is my concern, is that it's becoming so generic, the visual effects side of stuff, that everyone's going to turn to Premiere Pro to do visual effects, which now have become so kind of, pared down to the point that motion graphics templates are visual effects. You don't see any high-end stuff happening anymore. And this is my concern for future students who want to learn, how to do effects they're going to go and say, well, I want to do this, and there isn't any avenues out there. You might start. I'm not sure if you've seen this, Neil, but there's a kind of very silent movement away from After Effects. If you've not noticed this, slowly kind of being pushed to the side, and Premiere Pro is taking kind of center stage right now, because they're pushing that Mercury playback engine to the limit, which is great. I fully understand with the M1 chip and so forth, these things are going to happen. But my advice, yet again, in a nutshell, would be to learn as much as you can about the old stuff together with the new stuff, and kind of make them work together. That's very important to learn.
Yeah, in Resolve, Black Magic project, you have, of course, the Fusion standalone application, which is equivalent to After Effects, and then you have Fusion as a page of Resolve. And I work a lot with people in Resolve, and they're having a very similar issue over there. That there's a lot of things where editors will get going and go, "Oh wow, Fusion is really cool in Resolve, and they can do things," and then they hit things they can't, and then at that point, well, actually, past a certain limit, you have to go to the standalone Fusion, which is a different program and actually works differently than the one that's within Resolve. And so they're having this battle between what can you do within this product and what do you have to do where you actually step out and go to a different product and back. It's kind of a blurring of the separation, and it's a puzzle for everybody involved. But you're right about the what's going on between After Effects and Premiere Pro right now, where they're really trying to say a lot of the stuff is done in Premiere Pro, when anybody looking at it that has any experience goes, that's a slight stretch.
Yeah.
But it's confusing to the user, and of course, so then it leaves the rest of us that are working with the program to say, well, yeah, maybe, but actually, this is what's really going on. This is what you need to pay attention to.
It creates a lot of confusion, I think. Especially, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this promo, and new and young guys coming up, or young girls and guys coming up in this industry would just go in and purchase Premiere Pro, right? That's the end goal here, to purchase the app. And they'd be like, okay, we saw the guy walk through a window from his apartment on the 20th floor into a field, a grassy field. I want to know how I can do it in Premiere. And Adobe's not going to tell them, well, guys, this is not really how it's done. You got to learn a different application. So that's why it's so important to they should have said made in After Effects and finished in Premiere Pro, or just did a little bit of a tutorial, which is I think off the cuff while we're talking now, I think we should I should break down that video in the session soon. Really break it down and kind of dismantle it and show the viewers exactly what was done in After Effects and what was done in Premiere. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just being very open and honest about what has happened there, and it's coming from us that has been we've been around that block a few times, so I think we have all the right to think live with that and tell people. I think it would be a great idea. Miriam, what do you, Miriam?
That sounds interesting. So God, I'm trying to figure out if on the fly we can share this. I know I could post a link. We could post a link in the comments to this video that you're talking about. I was thinking wouldn't.
Yeah.
And you've kind of broken up a little bit, Mo. We're getting some bad reception there or something, but yeah. Do you want to post the link to that video you're talking about?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to try and I'm going to try and find it.
I know it's been heavily featured on LinkedIn.
If I can.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere, but I can't remember exactly where I've seen it.
So this is an Adobe promo video.
Yeah, an Adobe promo video on LinkedIn.
Well, I could see if I can find it here.
Premiere Pro.
Would it just be? Well, this might take a little bit too much time to poke around, darn it.
Okay, I've got it. I'll give you the link now.
Oh, cool.
Ah, there it is.
You can hear the music. I'm sure. So let me post that link in the chat. There
Yeah,
it is.
it's a really cool video to watch, but
It
Lo's
is.
right. When I they said this is done in Premiere Pro, and I looked at it and went, no, just obviously no. This is
I was flabbergasted. I saw it and I'm like, that's okay. I hear the soundtrack, it's sounding good. It's gonna be a dynamic video, and then I see a whole new world open up, and I'm like, oh my god, the engineers have done a miracle. It's the love child of Premiere Pro and After Effects all rolled into one, called Premiere Effects or something like that. I thought it's a brand new application. I honestly thought it's a new application because there's been talk of a new application being launched, and none of us know what it's going to be. So I thought Premiere got married to After Effects, had some kind of weird child, and this is what it was. And then at the end, it says, you know, this is Premiere Pro, and I'm like, holy God! I spoke to Rufus, and I even spoke to
you're really breaking up, Mo.
the
Unfortunately,
the other guy, Eric's guy.
we're
I'm
missing
sorry.
whole seconds of a time of audio.
I spoke to the younger guy. What's his name? From the. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
Yeah, you'll have periods that are really clean, and then there's other periods where all of a sudden we'll be missing 2-3 seconds of audio at a time.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's happened here. Do you know what the guy's name is that works with Eric, the guy at Premiere Pro?
I know quite a few people that work on Premiere Pro. Are you talking about,
Francis Crossman?
Yeah. Oh, Francis Crossman, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him as well, and I asked Rufus as well. So, you know, is this a promo for After Effects, or how is it done? And so they both say, well, some of it was done in After. I mean, I'm like, right, the whole damn thing was done in After Effects. You've got to be kidding. So that's, you guys, you must watch it when you get it.
It was all edited in Premiere Pro and then just sent as comps to After Effects. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. There's some serious After Effects work in there.
Oh, some really good serious After Effects.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to begin maybe do a deconstruction.
That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff Mo can do in After Effects that I would be sitting there looking at and going, "Oh wow, that's so cool."
Yeah, it's cool, kind of cool stuff with a lot of third-party plugins thrown in. There's Red Giant in there. There's Trapcode in there. There's Video Copilot stuff in there. Optical flares. There's a ton of stuff in there. It's just bonkers. So I don't know what, maybe we could deconstruct it at some point, look at it and show people what it's actually about. It would be interesting. I think that episode would be great to do on that.
Now, there have been some YouTube things that I have seen where they do an amazing job of pulling off an effect that you would think would have to go to After Effects, but they do it within Premiere, and it's been kind of fun to watch that. I know, like I've seen one where a guy showed an image of how they, or showed how they put together a thing where it looked like he was running off of the top of a like a 12-story building and jumping 30 yards over and landing on the top of a 3-story building and then just rolling off and getting up and running. And they had done some work with a drone of him running on the top of the building. And then the rest of it was shot on a park grass, where they had pictures of him on a nice green grass, using essentially the grass as a green screen, where they had him doing the last few steps of the running and doing the leap, and then doing they had a little ramp and they had him leap off of that so he would have a believable fall and roll down onto the ground, but again using the grass as a green screen and then replacing that, and it was done totally within Premiere Pro, and that was a really wild and a really cool thing to do. But this one that we've got the link to here, that was not done within Premiere.
Well, I think that's a great point, because Miriam, we can also look at talking about how effects have evolved within Premiere Pro itself, which is not something very big as a topic because not many people have done stuff. This takes a little bit of innovative thinking about how you're going to plan something. It's mainly shot on camera, and then it's brought back. It's planned for Premiere Pro. Let's call it. We can name that episode "Planned for Effects Planned for Premiere Pro," which is something I've never seen really as an episode or a series or anything. Yeah, effects planned for Premiere Pro would be great because it's. I've never thought of this before again because it could form a part of a training course for people who want to do effects but don't want to be so heavily involved that they need to get into After Effects. Or maybe they can't afford After Effects as a package, or anything. So you teach them how to do some crazy cool effects inside Premiere Pro, because remember, Premiere Pro is also now supporting most of the third-party plugins. It's drastically slower than After Effects in terms of how it plays back on the timeline, and that might be a really kind of deal killer. But if the person really wants to sit there waiting for one frame to render in 2 hours, it's perfectly fine. We can teach them how to get this kind of stuff done. I think it's a novel approach to something that's now starting to flourish within Premiere Pro. So Premiere Pro is becoming an all-in-one. And Neil, maybe it's because of Resolve. I didn't actually think of this until now, and Fusion.
Yeah. Oh, they are definitely influencing each other. Those two companies are so aware of each other. It's amazing. When going down to the big NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters show in Vegas, the normally massive one that this year they're going to actually do one. It's not going to be in April as it always has been. It's going to be in October, and then supposedly they'll go back to April next year. But Blackmagic has a massive booth of all their gear. And of course, Blackmagic's process is they have some software like Resolve and a few other things, but primarily to sell you that massive amount of hardware that they sell. Yeah. And for the Adobe apps, they have software that they're selling, and they use the fact that you can link things together to make their subscription model run. So they approach things differently, but they are so aware of and dancing around each other when you see them live. It's an amazing thing to watch. But yeah, both apps are changing because of the other one right now.
Yeah, it's quite something to watch because you've got Resolve and Fusion, Resolve Studio and Fusion in there, and it's node-based editing. Node-based effects. Whereas you got Premiere and After Effects, which is layer-based. So, and Adobe's never going to change from that. They're going to keep it as layer-based. And you got these two sorts of schools of thought. Layer-based guys hate node-based, and node-based hate layer-based. And it's kind of, if you're doing both, it's really kind of horrible unless you really know your stuff. It's very irritating on the brain. So Resolve, everyone's going node-based. The entire universe is node-based, from Houdini, side effects, to Resolve, to most of the Blender stuff, most Cinema 4D. It's all node-based stuff. And if you don't know node-based, and that's where I feel Adobe's going to kind of slip behind a little bit, maybe. But the reason Adobe is so popular and the reason they outsell the rest, in my opinion, is because of the fact that they are layer-based, and layer-based is so much easier than node-based.
It's much easier to understand.
Yeah, it's super easy to understand.
Well, there were ways with SpeedGrade, which was layer-based. You had your effects in a layer. Your effects are stacked in a layer one after another. In a node, they're called nodes because you can pull them out of order and put connections to different nodes, and so you can mix up where they get an input and an output from, and all, which it's as complicated as it sounds. And with SpeedGrade, there was a way that you could at times direct that 1, 2, or 3 layers actually pulled their input from like say the original source or whatnot, and Patrick Palmer, who was one of the creators of Iridos, which became SpeedGrade when Adobe bought it, and then he ran that for Adobe while it was with them, is now the head of all of the Adobe applications, and color is still dear to his heart. And I've been pushing him and Francis, and even had an email conversation with Lars Borg, their chief color scientist, here a couple of weeks back. And I was kind of pushing on this whole thing of, I don't mind working in the layers, but dang, I would really at times need to be able to tie a layer to an input from an earlier layer, so that, like, if I make a change in there, for among other things, I don't screw up my color corrections. I pull the data from maybe the original file data, and I don't have a change, just because then I go and I do a color correction, do a white balance on a layer here, then that all of a sudden screws up something else I did. And it was interesting in the past when I've mentioned that. I've got, the very quick responses of, yeah, but that would be very hard to do, and we're not really considering that. And I pushed on that this time here just a few weeks back, and that's an interesting request, and something that's probably worth considering. And then nothing. And I pushed on it again and got a very respectful silence. Well, Mo, you've gotten used to reading the tea leaves like I do. When you get something like that where they've said, no, wait, no, that's not ever going to go, and then you ask again and you get silence. You're going, aha, there might be some tea leaves to examine here. So who knows? Maybe we will get the ability to tie layers. Because I was pushing and this is, of course, way into the weeds, but in an After Effects, it's all layered, but you can pick whip, as it's called. You've got this little screw up icon, screwed circle icon, and you can drag that to another layer in your stack, and then it pulls information from that layer. And so I was saying, how about you've already got pickwick and After Effects, let's just have a pickwick here. And that's when I hit radio silence. And so at that point, I'm sitting there going, is there a consideration to give us a pick whip in Premiere Pro? I don't know that there is. They're not saying anything. Yeah. But when I get silence on that question, all of a sudden I'm going, well, that silence is interesting. And frequently in the past, silences have been some of the best information we can get out of them. They're pretty secretive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with there's something in After Effects that shows that they're keeping options open. So you've got the composition flowchart in After Effects. It's a shortcut key. You can see the composition workflow. Essentially, it looks like it's nodes. And from my understanding, it was at the kind of mid-stage development stage where they developed this flowchart in order to allow node-based editing to come in. And then that code just got killed a little bit slowly because it wasn't very popular. But that flowchart makes no sense to me at all because it's never used. You tab into it, you see it for 2 seconds, and you let go, and okay, so what does that really mean? But it was there as a remnant of the idea to do node-based editing. The pick whip, or as you call it, the screwed up icon, I love it, the screwed up icon, inside Premiere Pro would be quite novel and interesting because it's normally there to actually use for things like null layers and so forth. And then of course it's there essentially for when you're doing scripting, and expressions. So if they get that in Premiere, it would be a massive indicator to me that they're either overhauling After Effects in a big way in the background and just kind of shifting some stuff over while they do a huge upgrade, or they're going to give people the ability to start doing semi-pro work inside Premiere Pro, which would be a natural disaster to me, a total, like a hurricane, a tsunami, or anything, because the engine's not built for. And this is my problem with the effects layering that they've established now in the motion graphics, essential graphics window. yes, you can layer all of it, and it looked great when they presented it. It was fantastic. The problem is you've got to have a really decently spec'd graphics card and machine in order to even begin to play back anything on that timeline. A normal motion graphics template takes forever. So imagine putting in blurs and sparkles and all these fancy goodies that they want you to put in, and you're going to have these problems. So they're pressing and they're pushing really hard to sell the software, which is wonderful. I understand that. However, at the expense of what is the question? So I think it would require a little bit of kind of investigation, and it's an interesting time right now because there's so much new happening that isn't being publicized. Adobe's gone very silent very quickly recently, and this is, I guess, before Max, which is normally the case, but they've gone way silent.
Yeah, it's so which leaves us to wondering what's going on. I've got in Premiere Pro right now, as you can see on my screen, I've got right here, I do have a graphic that I've done a little bit of testing with and making, and including adding in some blurs and whatnot to it. And I have a 24-core Ryzen with 128 gigs of RAM and a 2080 Ti with was it 11 or 16 gigs of video RAM on that. Yeah. And that can slow down my play a little bit. If I put a second graphic in there or start adding more, it does slow it down more. So your comment about it takes an incredible amount of hardware to do the Mogerts is really spot on.
Well, yeah, it is. This is fascinating, but we are past our 30-minute mark and trying to hold this to about a 30-minute show. So any parting comments that you guys want to make?
Yeah, sure. Keep doing what you're doing. Be creative. Get the emotion out there. Use your passion. This is not a job. It's a lifestyle. Editing is not for people that are boring. It's for you to get your creativity and passion out there. Don't give up. Keep trucking. Follow us. Yeah, follow us like you kind of stalking us. It's fine. We'll stalk you right back. Great stuff. Been wonderful. Next time, hope to have some interesting guests and so forth on. But we're going to deconstruct the promo video. Anil and I are going to kill it, really. And maybe we'll have a guest on board to kill it with us. I know the perfect person, Neil. Yeah, I'll tell you about that.
We have some people we're talking with and we're scheduling right now for guests that will be really fun and fascinating and informative and wonderful to have. You really want to catch this show over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I know if we invite a particular person about this promo video, and that person makes Mogerts, as a living, he's gonna have a royal time of this. So it's gonna, we will have 3 guests at the same time on a special, show about
we should do a special episode
promo. It's called the Fantastic Voyage. That's what Adobe's calling it. Fantastic Voyage of Premiere Pro made in After Effects. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Oh, all right. That sounds like fun. So I do want to encourage everybody to join the Facebook group, the Creativity-Hive Inner Circle. That's where you'll know when we're going live. You'll know about these special episodes we've got planned. We also have some other fun stuff coming up, a free challenge in a couple of weeks. I'll be giving you more information about that. So with that, I'm going to bid everybody farewell.
Farewell from
And bye.